You're watching Pulse for the 7th of December and it's time for some World of Warcraft news. In this week's episode, yes, you guessed it, patch 4.3 news and some other stuff too. First up, we have a look at how you can give the gift of Warcraft. Then we take a peek at the latest patch 4.3 hotfixes, a bunch of general patch 4.3 updates including some spoiler-filled cinematics, and no, I won't actually show them or talk about the spoilers in this video. This past week's Raid Finder exploit drama, the latest lore story to hit the official site titled Charge of the Aspects and more. Let's get started. We're starting the World of Warcraft news off with a pretty good deal. So to prepare for the holidays, Great Father Winter has massively buffed our gift-giving abilities, and for a limited time we can save up to 75% on select World of Warcraft products. This is obviously if you buy them through the Blizzard store online. So if you were wondering, you can get the World of Warcraft Battle Chest for $5, Cataclysm for $20, Wrath of the Lich King for $10, the Celestial Steed for only $10, and the Pandaren Monk Pet for only $5. Now sure, these deals may not be for everyone, but if you've yet to play World of Warcraft or if you have a friend that's interested, I guess this is as good a chance as any, and I don't see you finding this any cheaper anywhere else anytime soon. So check that out over at the official site or at the Blizzard store and let me know what you guys think. Are any of you buying this for any friends? Or is that a gift, or I suppose some would say curse, that you'd rather not bestow upon them? The special does in fact end on the 19th of December, so you'd best get to it. As I said though, if there ever was a time to get WoW, this is probably it. I suppose you can get that pet or mount too if you feel the need. Time to have a look at the patch 4.3 hotfixes. These were for December the 2nd and December the 6th. Now first up, there's one exploit that was fixed that I think everyone expected would be fixed as soon as Blizzard possibly could, and this is one that allowed players to gear up incredibly fast by queuing over and over in the Raid Finder. If you didn't know, the Raid Finder is actually only active for Dragon Soul right now, and it should be working as intended again. As I mentioned at the start of this episode, we're going to be talking a little bit more about this exploit and the people that abused it over the past week, so keep listening for that. I will also mention that this week the Dragon Soul heroic modes were unlocked. Other than that, the new 5-man's got a bit of love. There were a couple of less interesting item, quest and creature fixes, and a few class balance changes too. In the December 6th hotfixes, we saw some Dragon Soul nerfs, and I suppose everyone knew those were coming. Some item changes, including those to transmogrified items. Yes, you can't actually mail heirlooms that were transmogrified to your alts anymore. So that means no more level 1 alts running around in raid gear. There were a few changes to the Dark Moon Fair and more. You can see those full lists below. Now with the silly hotfixes out of the way, we're going to look at some more general patch 4.3 news. Those of you out there that read some of the articles and blue posts that I linked to last week will know that the Dragon Soul end cinematic, or I suppose you could call it the Cataclysm epilogue, was in fact not included in patch 4.3. Now it has been patched in, and the guys over at MMO Champion have linked it up for our viewing pleasure. And I will say that this does contain spoilers. You've been warned. Otherwise, I will tell you that I did watch it myself and I thought it was pretty good. I sort of like the path that Blizzard are taking with World of Warcraft's future, but we're gonna have to wait and see how it plays out. That's all you're getting from me though. I know that a lot of people don't want those spoilers. Along with this ending cinematic, which you can find conveniently right here on YouTube, you can have a look at a couple of other Dragon Soul cinematics too. You can find them linked below as well. Now one quick mention, if you remember correctly, last week the patch 4.3 trailer was revealed. Now I thought it was pretty epic as is, but a fan has taken it upon himself to revise it a little. So YouTube user The Open Eyes thought, well, something was missing, and he embarked on a pretty epic quest to add various voiceovers to the trailer. He mentioned that he has absolutely no skill in video editing or anything like that, and I will mention that the voiceovers are from the World of Warcraft client files, so these are official. He just plonked those voice files right over the trailer as it was, and I'll tell you now, take it from me, it makes a huge difference. The end result is pretty amazing. For some reason, and I suppose that reason could be Deathwing's tremendously scary sounding voice, the trailer just feels a lot more epic now. You can check that fan-made revision of the Cataclysm patch 4.3 Hour of Twilight trailer out right here on YouTube. Enjoy it. Now let's have a look at that exploit. So as you probably know, the Looking for Raid feature was only implemented about a week ago, and with it came a couple of bugs. Now, as it turns out, people didn't see these bugs as exploits, more as opportunities. And some of these players were from pretty big guilds such as Paragon and Method, and I actually asked myself, shouldn't these guys know better? Well, it seems not. Every single one of these guys apparently just wanted to keep their competitive edge. Yes, they wanted the advantage above the rest. So when one started doing it, the rest just followed suit because hey, they didn't want to be left behind. So now the bans that these players received, and yes, they did receive bans, that's usually what happens when you exploit, read that after thorough investigation, Blizzard found that the players in question were participating in exploitation of in-game bugs with the Raid Finder feature. By utilizing these bugs, said players were able to acquire, distribute, or obtain gear and equipment from a Raid Finder encounter multiple times in the same week, inconsistent with the intended mechanics of the Raid Finder feature. So I'm not going to go into lots of detail about how they actually did this, but it did involve master looting and queuing up multiple times. Honestly, I think it's really silly that players get this competitive over World of Warcraft raiding, but hey, I suppose it is pretty serious for some people out there. And well, all that said, it doesn't seem like any permanent bans were dished out, but hey, 8 days, just a week after a patch's release, I think that's probably a lifetime for some of these players. Anyway, you can read more about this below, along with an apology statement from the guys over at Paragon, so I suppose that's pretty big of them. It's a lot of drama, and I suppose you guys would appreciate that. Enjoy. Now in one of the last pieces of our patch 4.3 news and updates, the guys over at Blizzard have posted on their official site a patch 4.3 pets, mounts and collectibles guide. Along with this, they link us to a couple of fan site guides. There are enough of them to go around, that's for sure. There are a couple to look at from WarCraft Pets, MMO Champion, there's an achievement list from WoW Achievements, there's obviously a bunch of stuff from the guys over at Wowhead and WoW Insider, well worth having a look at if you're playing right now. There's a Raid Finder Q&A, you can read all about the fishing and archaeology changes that came with patch 4.3, there's a Dark Moon Fair guide up, and much more. I also thought it would be worth mentioning that you can have a look at some Dark Moon Fair ticket value changes. This was posted by Bashiok, and I suppose that those of you that have visited the new Dark Moon Fair would probably be pretty interested in these. This is obviously mostly useful for all of you actually playing World of Warcraft right now, but hey, I suppose those that aren't can still get some enjoyment from it. One thing everyone can get enjoyment from is this patch 4.3 Hour of Twilight wallpaper. Check it out in full size over at the official World of Warcraft community site and download it in any size you'd like. Now yet another quick mention. PvP Season 11 has begun and you can now get your hands on that Cataclysmic Gladiator gear. And along with that, in this new season there's a new boss in Baradin Hold. This one's titled Ali Zabal, the Mistress of Hate. You can read a bit more about this boss over at MMO Champion, see what skills it uses and more. Then you can also have a look at some previews for the Season 11 armor sets. Definitely worth having a look at if you're planning on doing any PvP or entering Baradin Hold this season. Check it out below. Now last up, before heading into the smalls, we've got yet another new lore story. This one's titled Charge of the Aspects. The story was written by Matt Burns, the same author who gave us the pretty amazing short story The Council of the Three Hammers, Fire and Iron earlier this year, and it highlights the Aspect's decision to use the Dragon Soul against Deathwing, and where everyone's favorite orc Thrall fits into all of it. I've yet to read the story in its entirety, but I'll definitely get around to it soon. So you can have a look at that over at the official community site or link below this video, and be sure to let me know what you guys think of it if you do read the whole thing. With all of that done, let's have a look at the World of Warcraft smalls. First up, some art gallery updates. Then have a look at a pretty interesting post, and this isn't really World of Warcraft related per se, but check out A Day in the Life of a Community Manager. This one follows Bashiok around. Pretty interesting stuff. Then have a look at the Jinx 2011 holiday line. Read an update on moving characters to the new European Portuguese realm. Blizzard's very own Frank Pierce has joined the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences Board of Directors. Check Michelle Morrow's visit to Blizzard Entertainment headquarters out. There are photos too, so you can enjoy those. Then read an interesting article over at Adventures in Poor Taste titled In Defense of Pandas, Dispelling Mist of Pandoria's Main Criticisms. Then you can read about Cryptozoic's new deck building game for World of Warcraft. This is Clash of Champions. You can see a couple of Dragon Soul heroic difficulty US first kills. You can check out the latest weekly Marmot, looking for exploits. And lastly, have a look at the best places to vacation in WoW. This was by Trade Chat. So that's it for the smalls. There are a couple of blue posts to have a look at below as well if you're interested. I'm not going to mention every single one of them here because, well, they weren't really that interesting. So as always, remember to check back here soon for more news. Like the video, favorite it, share it with your friends, and subscribe. Most importantly though, happy giving the gift of Warcraft.